My name is Mulki el-Sharmani. I'm an assistant professor at the Social Research Center at the American University in Cairo. I am working with the Pathways project, the Egypt project group, and I've been working on the family courts in Egypt. That's part of it, but actually the what we call the project is, because the focus of it is to look at the reforms that have been happening and that have been introduced in Egyptian personal status laws, i.e. family laws, since 2000. Part of those reforms was family court. Another important reform was khola, which is a kind of a divorce, so that Egyptian women were granted, and it's called no-fault divorce. So this is what I've been doing. It's a process. It's not just, that's actually what we're finding from the stories, the real stories that we've been privileged to hear and see when we talk to the women. I think it's, so in fact, the more I work on this, the more I realize it's appropriate that we think of our project as pathways, and that, because definitely it's a process. And I think perhaps it would involve, part of it, speaking from the local context that I've been working on, is citizenship rights. That's a big part of it. I think it involves having choices. It involves having knowledge and choices. But I've seen from the work that I've been doing that it often implies, of course, different things. It means different things for different women, but it implies also sometimes it involves making trade-offs. Yeah. What we've been doing is our project has been divided in sort of into different phases. So in the first phase, we focused on one specific reform, which is the new court system that was established in Egypt in 2004, called family courts, and it's based on compulsory pre-litigation mediation. So we did ethnographic work in the courts and seen how that new system is working for women, what are the problems, and the idea behind it was to make the women's access, men and women, but particularly women, since there tend to be the larger number of the litigants, to make their access to the court system easier and also inexpensive, and perhaps to be able to reach settlements through the mediation. And we found that there are a lot of problems, legal gaps in the law itself, as well as problems with resources, with training, that are making perhaps the effectiveness of family courts for women diminished. And we've written about these findings, we've disseminated them, we've shared them with the stakeholders and the relevant actors here in Egypt. And in fact, one good thing that came out of the work that not only us but other people have been doing in order to learn about the family court and how it's working is that the government now set up a project called Family Justice Project that tries to address the gaps that have been found in the family court system. Another thing we've been looking at in our work is how khola works for women in the courts. This is the new kind of divorce that women, they've been granted the right to file for that divorce, and it involves their giving up their rights, but they don't, at least financial rights, but they don't have to prove any harm. And some of the interesting findings we found about women who are resorting to khola is that, first of all, they tend to be women from all walks of life and different socioeconomic classes, unlike what the assumption when first the khola law was proposed in the parliament, that there was a fear that it was only going to be beneficial to rich women because they're the ones who are in a position to give up their financial rights. In fact, we found that a lot of poor women are resorting to khola because it's faster. But what we found also is that more and more women are using the khola not as a counterbalance right that they have, which would be equivalent to man's right to unilateral divorce, which is what it's supposed to be legally. You know, if he divorces his wife unilaterally, then he has to compensate her financially. And the khula is supposed to be the same way for the woman. She decides to end the marriage. She doesn't have to have reasons, but she compensates the husband. We're finding that women are not really using khula, at least a considerable number of them, that way. In fact, many of the women who are resorting to khula are women who are eligible for divorce on the grounds of harm, but because they can't prove the harm, they're resorting to khul.